Hello, everyone, and welcome to the spring equinox gathering. And this picture that you see here is last year at the fall equinox. We had we had in our Windwalkers adventure. One of the final things that we did was we planted bulbs because it reminded me of the story when I was in my 30s. My father had just passed away, and he passed away in October that year. I was 30, actually 32, and I had hit a wall. I had quit drinking 2 years earlier on Easter. Easter, this whole time of the vernal equinox, is always a big time for me, and I'm assuming that so many people are joining us today. It's a big time for you too. And I was very depressed, and I ended up in a lockdown ward in that spring. But um, before before I went to the place in the fall. I went in January, but that earlier that fall, I had planted some tulips because I was so depressed that I thought, oh, when they come up in the spring, I'm going to feel differently. And so, for some reason, last year, there I was going back. My sister passed away, and we were having a family memorial. And I thought to myself, like, I'm going to plant some bulbs. And I got everybody in the Windwalkers Adventure, the 10-month program, to do it too. So I'm really looking forward to seeing all the pictures as people's bulbs come up. It's the bulbs are coming up in Washington, and the daffodils are always first. In fact, my friend has a bouquet of daffodils. I don't have that many, but I have them sprouting up, and maybe because it's their first year. But thank goodness the deer didn't eat them all. So welcome. For those of you who are new to this is a Windwork call. Windwork is shamanism, and Windwork it celebrates the celebrates celebrates the directions, and hopefully you can see this a little bit. But how we celebrate, I'm going to stop sharing that now so you all got to see that. So how we celebrate the directions is by working with our awakening compass. And this, I guess I made it a little big, although it's not quite as big as the one that I was playing with yesterday. But that to understand that our life is on a cycle. For the last 15,000 years, we've been living more of a linear landscape, but the shamans always knew that there was time and space intersections. And why I want you to see this, why I particularly, this bad drawing, but why I particularly love the equinoxes is because they're on the horizontal plane. They're the markers of cooperation. They're the markers of the like the sun goes up in the morning and it sets in the sky. And on this particular day, the sun has an even up and down set at the equator. And as most of you know, the equator, separates from the people who are now in winter as opposed to, or coming out of winter. No, going into winter. Sorry, they're in fall, and up in the northern hemisphere, we're moving into summer. But there's a balance here. We can find the balance between our friends in the south and our work here. So it's kind of very exciting this way, that we can actually visit the light and visit the dark, and understand the intersection. We're going to work for this intersection today between. I love this really simple diagram I have. I'm amusing myself, but that this intersection is what we call in the Windwork our spin axis. And why is it important? Because Boreas, the north wind, and the south wind, they're always in opposition with each other. There's this idea of, like, is the summer ever going to come back when it's in the middle of the winter? Well, in the east and the west axis, Zephyrus and no Eurus and Zephyrus don't have that. They don't have that tension. They have more of a cooperating. The sun comes up, the sun goes down, And so we have this experience of the sun coming up, the sun going down. And as opposed to, like, are we going to die in the winter? Are the resources going to be so frozen that we're not going to have enough food to feed the people? And so that's kind of the difference between the North and the South Pole, Boreas and the Notus, and the Zephyrus and the Zephyrus of the West and Eurus of the East that we're going to be working with today. Now, if you don't understand a lot of this work, don't feel bad. The wind works you, and it comes from winds of spirit, which, you know, is starting to gain popularity. You're seeing the wind everywhere. The cycles of time have the wind in it, and it's showing up in a lot of different places. Crazy. A message from Sandra just popped up in the middle. It's about something else, but so she's here in spirit too. All right. So this is what we're working on today. We want to walk the wheel, and so that we're aware during these pivotal moments of how we shift, how we change, where we make subtle transformations. And so that's this work. And today is a perfect day to do it. I don't know about you, but there's a Virgo moon last night, Terry. I did not sleep. Anyone else did not sleep? Raise your hands. It was an intense moon. And you know, Virgos, they're like, you know, they're the real organizers. So, like, don't be surprised that with this organizing moon, if you're not getting up, cleaning the house, doing your spring cleaning, getting the dirt turned in the yard. Last night, I was very organized. One of the also things about our Windwork is in our Windwalker adventure, we are making round vision boards. So I took that time gap last night to really get my vision board in order, because this is the time that we do that. This is the time, you know, I always wondered, and I never knew, but that in January that we people would make a vision board, or in December. It's like, why would you make your vision board now when you're getting ready to hibernate? You know, you're going to make a vision when you're sleeping? Well, you could be dreaming a vision while you're sleeping, but now is the time to put the pedal to the metal, to make those visions, to make those dreams, set them into action. Now, in a cyclical order of experience, then it's not like only one time of the year you do this work. So right now, today we're actually going to take this really incredible journey for ourselves. And it's a two-part journey, which I don't always do. We're going to do this journey for ourselves, and then we're going to actually, whatever the golden nugget that we get, we're going to go and we're going to go to the upper world, and we're going to plant some of our golden nuggets for seeds of hope for other people around the world. Why we're doing it in two parts is because first we're going to clear off what we left behind in the fall, just in case we're still lugging it around. We're going to then go on a hunt for this part of ourselves that we planted that we may or may not even be aware of. We're going to then come back to that center of the spin axis, this place where being is, the being axis. And from that being axis, we're going to actually journey. We're going to journey to the upper world to do this work on behalf of a world that's struggling right now. And before we do that, I'm wondering, Bridget, if I should move it live too. Okay. I really, if you have questions or anything, this would be a great time to ask, because I'm going to move. We've just run out of room in our Zoom call. So this is like the first time that's ever happened. Well, once before it happened, but hold on a second. I've got to get us organized. So any questions so far? No? No questions? Give me 2 seconds on this. Sorry about that. It's hard to tell, because if people they're not if they didn't get here, and I'm not saying the equinox gathering, share on the group. Let's see, it's going to the Wind Clan. So if there's a few of you there who don't want to be seen on the screen, you can go you can just go to your. Okay, I'm going live. Can someone just double check that we're live over there? All right, so got it. So the meeting's being live streamed because we just hit our 100, or now we're not back at 100, but it's okay. All right, so we're back to the equinox talk. So
there's 2 questions, Renee.
Yes.
Can you hold up the circle board again?
Yes.
And can you also repeat the 4 cardinal direction names?
Yes. Okay. So let me get this back a little bit further so you can see it. So this is when I started this, just so you know, this is the back of the earlier vision board I started, but then I realized I needed more space. So sorry, it's not a perfect circle. This isn't a perfect practice. It's shamanism. It has its imperfect, windy perspectives to it. So you can't see me, all right? But let me just tell you, I think this is, I just want to make sure. So Eurus is the east wind. And these are the Greek names. All right, can you see my hand? Notus is the south wind. Zephyrus is the west wind. And Boreas is the north wind. Now, when I was doing the research for the wind names, you know, the Italians have the Greco names, and I thought at the time that I was picking the eastern winds because, or the Greek winds, because they were easier to pronounce. And that's the truth. I picked them because they were easier to pronounce. Speaking of pronunciations, we have one of our Windwalker adventure people has been studying all the pronunciations, and we're going to make a video this spring of all of the wind deity names in here. We're very excited about it. Just know, this practice is only about 10 years old. So if you feel like, okay, this is a little bit new, this is a little bit new to me, trust me, it has been not on the planet for thousands of years. So if you're here, even in the first 300, 500, 2,000 people, we're bringing back new work onto this planet that's desperately needed for these times. Because for 15,000 years, we've been navigating with a linear landscape. You know, it's the work till you drop, then you're useless kind of a cosmology. This cosmovision was on the Earth's plane many thousands of years, because the wind was here at the beginning. The wind was here at the onset of creation. And so in this wind work, we talk a lot about creation. And so that's the energy today we're going to call upon to do this equinox journey. We're doing the equinox journey, for those of you who joined late, for ourselves and for the world. And I always invite people to start with their self-healing. And that's because until we clear out the cobwebs at our own eyes, we really can't see clearly about, even when we think we're in this giving phase, that we're giving for the self. We're giving to get. And so it's not until we become really clear about what we're giving, and you know, that's why shamanic journeys are so amazing, because you drop down from the linear type thinking and move into a sacred space where spirit can give you information and ideas that you weren't even thinking about, like the wind work, you know, like this work that's come about to share with the world. And it's really kind of a gift the winds are giving us at this moment. And you're going to experience today the power of the winds in this equinox celebration. And so, because it's an equal part between the day and the night, what we're going to do, and most of this is about the journey today. If you really are fascinated about the wind whistle and the windwork and the winds of spirit, we're going to be offering a Windwork basic course. It starts in a couple of weeks, and you'll get information about it. And since you've been here today, you can even there'll be some kind of a bonus if you register in the next couple of days. We're not talking about that. This is a celebration for the equinox for you today. And so we want you to be totally present here to do this. So, was there a second question? Did I answer it or not?
Yes, Renee, you did. Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. So you're going to really experience the shamanic practice of windwork today. I keep running up against the wall that people don't understand that this is shamanism. This is shamanism at its core. And so we're really excited that, that there's so many of you here who are going to experience this journey. So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you a practice we call a wind zip. And the wind zip is because, there's maybe 1,000 people who are going to listen to this. And maybe they haven't done all of their personal work. So we want to protect ourselves as we enter into these domains, especially with all of the things that are going on out in the world at the moment. All of the combustion, all of the confusion, all of the chaos, all of the fighting, all of that is part of the experience of when you live in the center of your spin axis. It's not that we're trying to run from it. We're trying to understand where we are in our own awakening compass at any given moment so that we can pivot. When we're looking at the East and we're looking at our mind, memories, and beliefs, and we say, oh, I must have an old thought going on there. Or if we're facing our emotional needs and desires or our wants not getting met, oh, notice, can you help move me from that? Or if it's a physical crisis or a death or an ending, and there's a lot of those going on right now, that we understand that we can call upon Zephyrus, the west wind, to help us. Or if we're at a spiritual turning point in our life, or we have the community's not supporting us in the way that we think we're entitled to, or we're not achieving measurable results. We're not getting the support we need. We can call to Boreas, the northern wind. And remember that cold north wind is in direct opposition a lot with our needs and desires. I love the quote that Mother Teresa said, that the reason she was in Calcutta feeding the needy was because she recognized the Hitler that lived inside of her. She understood that we were not one thing, we were multiple things, and that when we live from the center of our spin axis, which is in the middle of this compass, then you start to understand that you're in the middle, you're navigating from your own wheelhouse, and you can pivot by learning to adjust your sails, getting air in them to move in a different direction. But today, because it's the equinox, we're going to look at two winds. We're going to look at the west wind, because we want to see what we buried in the fall, and which I showed you, for those of you who didn't see it, was in my garden. Here, I'll show you again. Was in the windwork. I actually had people physically plant seeds so that they could see what grows in the spring, because sometimes we need that reminder. As humans, a lot of times we need that reminder. And so that's what you're going to do, is we're going to clear out what didn't serve us in the West. We're going to go on a hunt for something new, to something new of our becoming. We're going to then go into the center of our spin axis, and we're going to ascend the tree of life together as a group. and we're going to place our most golden aspect of ourself that we're going to learn about with the east wind into a community egg for peace and healing for our friends around the world. How does that sound? Bridget? Terry, do I sound clear? Good. Any questions? All right. So are we ready to get started? Is there any questions before we start? So we're going to start with a wind zip. Now we're going to start because we're going to do this journey. We're going to start in the west. So I'm going to start the wind zip in the north, and we're going to end in the west where I'll start the drumming and take you on a guided journey. All right, so the north for me is here. I'm not going to spin all the way around because you won't hear me or won't see the whistle. But so in the wind breath, on the first wind breath in, you inhale to the count of 7 to 10, whatever is your magical sweet spot. You hold it for that same count. It's more about the consistency of the holding of the breath. And then as you breathe out, you try to pace yourself to that same consistent breath. And on the exhale, on that final exhale, imagine bringing an imaginary string of wind, an energetic band of wind up over your head. And here, let me come down to your spin axis point that comes out and connects you to the heavens. Because this axis, some people call it axis Monday, goes through your head all the way down out your sacrum into the belly of the fiery molten of the lava, because we're magnetic beings. We're made of water. We resonate to the magnetics of the earth. So if there's something going on in another part of the world, if you're more sensitive, of course you feel it. And if you don't feel it, work on your sensitivity to start to be able to discern. So we pull that axis up from the center over our top of our head, and as we do that, we spin to the next direction. So today we're going to spin to the east, and then we're going to spin to the south and do that breath work the same way. And then I'm going to pick up my drum, and I'm going to drum by really light so it doesn't reverb too much for you. And I'm going to talk you in through this journey. Okay, so I invite everyone to close your eyes. Breathe in. And as we breathe Boreas out, we're pulling a strand of wind energy. Turn to the east as you're breathing in. And as you breathe out Eurus, pull up another strand from your sacrum over the top of your head. Turn to Notus of the South. And as you breathe out, bring that strand of Notus. Remain empty. And now we're going to turn to the west and call to Zephyrus. Remain facing west. Continue to walk to the west. Find yourself in your harvested field from last year. Was it full or was it fallow? Was it full of disappointment? Was it full of And we're going to blow off anything that isn't ours. And why don't you take a minute or two to just write down the gift, the color, the symbol. What were you given with that golden egg for yourself, for your becoming, that you're going to grow this year? What bulbs are you planting? And I'd like to remind you that this is a great time to continue this work. You can clean your house today, play music, go outside, light a candle, tend to your outside altar. How many of you made wind flags with us? If you haven't made a wind flag, you can go to our wind spinner and pull a wind for April to work with you through the next 30 days. Like pull it today and then announce that I'm going to be working with that wind. I'm going to get to know that wind as my new becoming, my new being. Last night I raked my outside altar. I picked up all of the windfall from the winter. And the windfall for me was that I could take it and mulch it into the garden somewhere else. So what are your windfalls from the winter? Make a list of your windfalls. The best way to deepen this, for those of you who are called, is to come and do the Windwork basics with myself, and then Bridget is going to actually do. I'm going to do the systematic of it, and she's going to do how she internalizes it with nature, how she integrates it into her life in a more kinetic. She could butt in on that one, kinetic way. And then we're the other suggestion I have for you is to go get an egg. If you have unfertilized ones, we have a lot of chickens in our neighborhood. I'm going to go get an unfertilized chicken egg from a neighbor, and then I'm going to wipe my entire energy field with it, and anything that's still remaining from the fall. And then if I had a color or a symbol or something like that, I'm going to write it on my egg, and then I'm going to bury it in the yard. And I think that's pretty much it for this ceremony, for this conversation. But if anyone has any questions, I'll stop the recording for the people who are going to listen later. But I'm happy to answer some questions about